Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Limits Movie Podcast. Today, we're back with another Scorsese one. Another Scorsese one from the early 2010s, actually. This was around the same time as we got to last time. Last time we did Shutter Island, and this time, it's Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, which is once again a collaboration between DiCaprio and Scorsese.
DiCaprio is in this one again. Arguably, I don't know how controversial this is. I do think out of all the movies I've seen with him, this might be his best performance I've ever seen him do.
I agree. I think some people could definitely agree with that. I don't think it's too controversial.
Like, what else? He's good. He's really good in everything, though. So,
Inception,
Shutter Island, Inception, Departed. He's really good in all that stuff.
Yeah,
Catch Me If You Can is one of my favorites of his. I think he's really good in that, too. But Wolf of Wall Street, he just does such a good job.
He absolutely commits. Like, imagine doing that role. Like, that would suck to do. Like, you have the speeches. Like, this guy's an insane, crazy movie.
Yeah, okay. So, when did you watch this movie again? Was it like a few months ago?
Was it this year?
I don't think it was. I think it was at the very end of last year.
When did I watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? So
that was last year.
Okay, so I watched half of that. I loved it. I couldn't finish it because my dad went to bed. So then after that, I found a movie that I thought was similar. And that was Wolf of Wall Street. That was a crazy night. And I went home.
I mean, they are both crazy movies.
I just saw like Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, oh, this looks somewhat similar. It has
it's a pretty well-known movie too.
Yeah, it's a Capra in it too. So I was just like, oh, why not watch this? And I think it was because also I think it was on. What's it on right now? Yeah, I think it was on HBO at the time. And it was leaving soon. I was like, oh, so why not watch it now? You know?
Yeah.
And I watched. I liked it a little bit. I had to do some drawing afterwards just to get the energy out of me.
Yeah, this movie does such a good job getting this like energy in you. Yeah, I love this movie. I'm not as high on it as you personally.
Yeah,
but it's definitely closer because I love the energy of it. I kind of don't like a little portion of it that we'll get to that does lower it a little bit for me. But this movie is incredible. I saw it before you. I saw it
That's true.
summer.
You've seen it twice now, right?
Yeah, I saw it last summer and then I saw it like a few days ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so you saw it before me.
And last summer, I remember watching this, like, it was a few days before after the school year ended it, and I watched it, like, one morning. I'm like, what the hell?
This would be a fun movie to watch when school ends.
I just, like, woke up one morning and went into this movie, and this is such a weird movie to watch right in the morning because it's so crazy and hectic and everything, and I was just like, give me a second to wake up, guys.
I'm so happy I watched this at night, actually.
Leonardo DiCaprio, can you give me a second to wake up?
I mean, he wasn't crazy at the beginning. It just only, like, amped up a little bit.
Like, okay, let's actually get to the movie because it's been 3 minutes and we haven't really talked about the movie very much.
To be fair, Matthew McConaughey's character was pretty crazy. Like the place he starts in is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So if you don't know what the movie is about, what's Leonardo DiCaprio's character's name?
Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort. He's like he goes into the stock world so he can make big money for that.
Wall Street,
all that stuff. That's too smart for me. And then he goes into Matthew McConaughey's business area.
Yeah, he joins his business. And he has that talk with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh my God, I love that part.
I think it was supposed to be the road center, actually.
That is the part, if you're not hooked on the movie yet, that one monologue is going to get you hooked on the movie.
Yeah, I actually watched it again on YouTube. It was so good. And it won McConaughey also. It won him an award as well.
That's fair.
And like the chess thing... You see DiCaprio after he does that kind of look away, like what's going on? And
you can see like DiCaprio is scared but super interested in what's going on, and that's how you kind of see him fuel into the character he is later in the movie.
Yeah,
because he's a lot more like McConaughey later in the movie than he is like himself right now.
Yeah, and that's genuine because so that was McConaughey revising, or he just thought of it on the spot. That's what he does before acting apparently sometimes to prepare. So when DiCaprio looks away, like, what? That's actually them looking at Scorsese to make sure it's okay. But they kept it in because it looked pretty good, actually. And then that was so weird. It was so weird, but it was so good.
That whole monologue is great.
It gives away perfectly what kind of people they are, too.
And it sets up the movie really well for... Then Matthew McConaughey's business kind of goes to...
It goes down. It kind of tanks because Wall Street's rough like that. And then, and then DiCaprio's character moves on to that cheaper place. And what's interesting actually is McConaughey's business in real life actually later on rejoined Belfort's business again for a couple of years, but they didn't show that in the movie, which is kind of cool, but it's kind
Okay,
of
yeah, because they
unfortunate.
never really McConaughey's out of the movie basically
Yeah,
by that point. He's just in
just
that first part.
he literally just disappears, completely gone, and then that's it. I'm being kind of disappointed by that, but it works. So.
And it's interesting because when he joins this new business, the stuff he learned from the old one really helped him out here.
Yeah.
That crazy mindset, that's what got him to like impress those people. And they're like, wow.
Yeah,
But
they just all like crowd around him. Like that was a great scene. Like when you first see it, that's a fantastic scene. Like with the sales tactics he used. I know that when he was filming it, I think he had the actual Jordan Belfort with him like the whole time. Because Jordan Belfort wanted the movie made. He wrote a book after he got out of jail. He became a like
they kind of worked with the ending
he became a
too.
teacher. Yeah, the ending you see is actually what he did after he got out of
Okay.
jail. That is real, and he did like the more negative. And because obviously the movie is kind of a it doesn't make Jordan Belfort look like a great person.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted. He wanted a more negative interpretation of his
Because
life.
he's
That part of his life.
he's terrible in the movie.
He's crazy.
Leonardo DiCaprio's character is not a good person at all. So yeah, and then eventually he ends up meeting with this the one person, I don't remember his name. You know, his friend.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Which is the actor's name. This is Donny Azov, which is not actually his real name in real life because it was something similar, but the actual Donny Azov in real life threatened to sue Scorsese if he used his real name in the movie, so that's why they had to change it. They changed most. I think they changed all the characters' names with the exception of Jordan Belfort.
Because he was very invested in. Obviously, these are terrible people, so you can see them like not wanting to do it.
You can see why they might want their name changed. Like Naomi, for example, that's not her actual name. It did so with an N though. It's like Naomi or something like that.
Yeah, because he has a first wife as well at the beginning.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like okay, it's really sad what he ends up doing, but because she's like really in support of him doing this, his career and everything, and then eventually he just goes for Margot Robbie.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Teresa Petrillo, I think, played by Christine. I'm smart. Christine Milioti, something like that. Assuming I recognize her.
So yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio ends up making his own gang of Wolf of Wall Street people.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like you have the restaurant scene, "Sell me this pen." I love that scene, and then you have the at the end too. It's like, oh, that's really cool actually. And you have Kenneth Troy who plays Chester Ming in that. I don't know if you remember him or not. You probably recognize his face.
I recognize him.
He actually gained some pounds for that role, and he's actually really funny in it.
They're all good in the movie though.
Yeah, they're all good. There's no bad acting.
But yeah, he ends up doing a very good job at this business thing, and it ends up getting him a lot of money.
Yeah,
you can see him slowly going from like struggling on this place to being crazy rich and getting like mansions and yachts and stuff.
On the island with Naomi.
And all this crazy stuff. This movie is like best way I can describe this movie is it's got a lot of drugs in it. This movie is like a giant drug ship.
Yeah, if you go to the parental warning, with the exception of violence, probably everything's severe. Yeah, violence and fighting and intense scenes, those are moderate. Everything else is severe.
Oh yeah, like the drugs and the sex and everything is just cranked up to.
Yeah, they actually had to remove some scenes too. They had to remove some of the scenes, so it wouldn't be what's the rating above?
X?
Yeah, I think X. I think it is. They had to remove some scenes so it wouldn't be X rated. So this is even worse before it's edited down.
This movie is just crazy.
And I wish they released a director's cut. I want to watch that, but they never released it.
I mean, the movie's already got it's already got enough content. It's like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's already a beast of a movie.
It doesn't feel the full 3 hours, but it is 3 hours.
It's a crazy movie.
So yeah, eventually through all these crazy stuff that he ends up doing, there's all these it just kind of continues on for a while. His dad ends up getting involved in some point.
Yeah, played by
Rob Reiner, who is the director of like Princess Bride and For a Few Good Men and all this stuff, a bunch of stuff that I really like. Stand By Me.
He's in Good Will Hunting as well. I don't know what he does though.
He's in Good Will Hunting? I didn't even know that. Clearly he's not a big part of that movie.
Yeah, I love him in Wolf of Wall Street. He's so funny. Like he's an angry dad. He's so funny.
Yeah, they have like the intro where he's like screaming at the top of his lungs. Oh, hello.
Hello. Yeah, he has the accent too.
And then he starts screaming again.
Yeah, but it wasn't like an aggressive, like threatening screaming though. It was like it's a really funny yelling.
And he clearly wants his son to go on a better path eventually, which is like a big part of the later in the movie where his son is finally going to retire from that life of bad stuff.
Yeah.
And then he stays on for a little bit.
Yeah.
because he like gets the energy of the room and everything gets too much to him. And he starts.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm not leaving."
Was that the speech?
Yeah,
So
that was a speech.
I know for one of the speeches in the movie, DiCaprio before it, like lost his voice randomly, so he had to wait an extra day or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fair. Those are some intense scenes, so I can kind of.
Yeah, this movie's crazy. But yeah, he ends up eventually finding Margot Robbie. They have a family. He breaks up with his old wife.
That was sad though. Like I think he got snapped by the old wife too. That was
Yeah,
sad.
which is fair because he leaves her for this random uh slightly questionable person.
I mean, it was Naomi super weird. I don't think she was,
Not really, actually.
but
She isn't that weird, but
she
also.
she came off as more crazy as a result of being with Jordan. I think so. And then
And eventually she does try to have like a family with him, but his
yeah,
crazy life ends up getting too much to her
and then he
and stuff
does
like that.
yeah. And this is Margot Robbie's first breakthrough role, pretty much. Like this is her biggest role so far
Uh-huh.
up to this point. That's when she becomes a more mainstream actor.
And then eventually she gets to go in stuff like Suicide Squad and Barbie.
Yeah, bigger ones, and like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
She isn't that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
She
know.
she doesn't do much in that movie,
I
but
don't
that's a
know.
whole different thing for
I
another
don't
time.
actually know why. I feel like half the scenes of it were kind of pointless, but it's
She's
okay for
kind of
me.
pointless in that movie, but that's very besides the point. So
Yeah, but this is interesting that she had some ballsy roles in this movie. Literally, um, she kind of like one of the first scenes. She just yeah. Like, were you also like thoroughly startled when in that first scene when she enters the building and they all crowd around her a little bit, and then Jonah comes out of nowhere like this with his big schlong. That was a fake one, by the way. I saw in the trivia facts that was not real,
uh-huh.
but he still like that was a genuine reaction by everyone around him. That absolutely startled me as like hell in that movie. I was not ready for that.
I mean, I was because he's very in character for him to do that, but
It was a crazy character, but that took me off guard completely for some reason. I was like, oh, that's nasty. What the hell?
yeah, it's gross, but it's in character.
Why would you do that? But so that was kind of weird, but it was fake at least. So that's nice knowing now, I guess. And then Margot Robbie, shows everything in that movie a little bit, which is interesting. So Scorsese originally actually was gonna have her wear like like a towel or something like that, but she
Mhm.
decided not to because the character's the reason why the character had value in the story was because of her looks, her good looks.
Yeah.
So it does make sense where
Hey,
Margot
she had to
Robbie's coming
become a
from.
star somehow.
Yeah, yeah, that was commitment, I guess. I can respect the commitment.
So yeah, eventually they end up having like a big mansion someplace. They end up having kids. They end up having a family, but he's still doing all this crazy stuff, and that ends up kind of coming an issue.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't one of the first scenes? Isn't it like of his mansion, like immediately, and then he's smoking, and it's not smoking, but sniffing cocaine, off of someone's crack.
Yeah, and then this becomes a giant fight between them.
Yeah, and then it cuts off like, oh, this is how I got here, and then you start at the beginning, and that's how, and then what you get back to it way later on,
Hmm.
and like you know that weird thing where Margot Robbie has like a skirt and stuff, and then he's
Yeah,
on the
you don't you
ground.
don't you don't have to explain
Uh,
that anymore. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and that was a famous scene. Like hell, that must have been kind of embarrassing. But I guess welcome to acting, where it's weird. But apparently it was actually worse than that originally, but they had to cut it down. So
Hmm.
I can only imagine what the hell happened there.
So yeah, eventually he does end up kind of quitting that life though.
He does, yeah. We see it. He's forced to I think it's house arrest, right?
Well, what happens is so there's like a aunt or something of Margot Robbie's character. Can't remember exactly what it is, but there's like a from France. She has like a
Oh, an aunt. I thought like the animal ant.
I,
And I was like, what?
I say aunt. I know some people say aunt,
I was like, why would you what? She has an ant?
but yeah. And then her aunt ends up dying,
Yeah, and she was the one who owned the bank accounts
so she has a
she
bunch
was
of
in a
money.
different
So he's
country.
like, "Oh my god, we need to get the money." But Margot Robbie's like, "But we have a funeral to get to. The money."
The money. Yeah, he prioritized the money, which is the most Belfort thing to do in this
But what
movie.
ends up happening is because their ship crashed and everything, and they had issues like that, the plane they could have gone on gets struck by lightning, and he finds this to be like a sign from, okay, I need to stop this. This is
Oh,
He ends up
yeah, that's
finding it
right.
like a signal. Okay, something bad is going to happen to me if I don't stop this right now.
Something worse than what's already happened.
And bad stuff still ends up happening, but because
Yeah,
it was a little too late, and then
he didn't die though, so I guess that's something.
yeah, his Margot Robbie ends up leaving him because he goes crazy and tries to take the kids and stuff like that. Well, she was already gonna leave him, but
Can't blame
she
her.
was even more ticked off after that, obviously.
It reminds me of Goodfellas, which is also by Scorsese. It reminds me of another movie by Scorsese, but I'm not going to mention it because
It
you haven't seen
reminds
it.
me of Breaking
Breaking Bad. What?
because like
That's
the whole
child
time
thing.
all I was thinking about was Breaking Bad when like he's leaving with the kid and everything. Because a spoiler alert for that show, I guess.
Yeah.
But Walter kind of does a similar thing
Oh,
at some point.
I don't know if we should spoil it in this, but yeah, something similar happens.
I'll put like a little timestamp. Skip here if you want Breaking Bad spoilers to be done. That'll be fine.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's just something that weirdly reminded me.
and yeah, another great scene is the drug scene. Remember where he's like, he suddenly just like his voice falters out of nowhere, and then so he falls over, he starts crawling because he's so high in drugs, but he needs to get back.
See, this is kind of the part of the movie I don't really care about for some
What?
reason.
But he was drunk. I
I
mean,
feel
not
like
drunk,
there's like a
but
little part before that up until he gets back to the house that just kind of I just don't care about that much. I don't care about his friend going to jail either.
oh, that guy.
Yeah, that whole part just doesn't really interest me. The whole drug scene just comes off as a little bit too ridiculous for me in a movie
Really?
that's already like it's on the fence of being like ridiculous in an entertaining way. I feel like him making it through that car trip is just a little bit over the fence for me a little bit.
That was like one of the best. That's the only interesting scene where someone was like absolutely wasted by a drug that I've ever watched
I like
before.
the kind of funny part when he does get to the house and he has to like save his friend who's choking on like a random thing.
That was like they were going crazy with that. And then also, I know DiCaprio. He kicked the car door with his leg at some point, and that was not originally written in the script. He came up with that on the spot, and he strained his back in the process. So you
Mm-hmm.
gotta respect the commitment by them.
But yeah, and then he ends up he ends up having some issues with his wife and she leaves him as well.
Yeah, that was
He
sad.
ends up going to jail for a bunch of time because they end up finding out about stuff from earlier. They end up like busting everything there.
Oh yeah, when the police charge him,
Yeah.
the people working there were so mad in that movie. They were screaming at them like no, and probably saying much worse things than no.
Yeah. And then yeah, he ends up kind of not redeeming himself, but
But
becoming a better person because of this.
he
And that's I
definitely
guess how the movie was made.
he definitely changed his life. He made a book. He made a movie. Obviously, what we're talking about right now. I haven't
Yeah.
read the book. I really want to read it, but I've heard interesting things about the book, so I'm really curious about it.
So yeah, you're a fan of this movie, I know.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
You've said it's like one of your favorite, if not your favorite movie ever.
Number
So
one on my top 25 list. Not bad.
I get it.
I don't think it's a perfect movie, but if you want a movie that's perfectly garnered towards my interest, then that's
I mean, yeah, if you're a fan of this is like Scorsese on a different level where he's going absolutely insane with his typical stuff.
yeah.
Like Goodfellas is already stuff like that. It's already layered in that like crime world of drugs and everything.
Mhm.
This is just that on drugs themselves. But
but crazier somehow, which is kind of
it's
impressive.
it's an insane movie. It's a very entertaining movie.
I
It's a
like it.
very well made movie. It's perfectly acted. The acting, I don't have any issues with the acting
Yeah,
for anyone throughout the whole movie, and it's
it's
3 hours
exceptional.
long.
It is stupid because DiCaprio won a Golden Globe for Revenant shortly after this,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't win it for this. And I feel like it should have been the other way around. Like he did a great job in Revenant, but which I know you haven't seen that.
I
But
haven't seen, so I can't speak on this, but
yeah,
he did deserve an Oscar for this. Who won that year?
like in Wall Street, like he didn't win the award for this. I was kind of mad about that. Well, not mad, but I was just like, how did he not win that?
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of surprised by that. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. I'm going 8 out of 10 on this one.
That's rigged. I'm going 10.
It's not quite a 10 for me, but I do love this movie. It's a great time. One of the best movies of that year, I'm sure, if I looked into it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Next time, Hunter's not going to be here. We're not doing a Scorsese one. I got a returning guest, though, to talk about a sequel to a movie we've already done. We're doing Endgame next, guys.
Oh, that's right.
Goodbye.
You know Henry one?